Hey Aries, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for September 12th through the 18th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Aries, this week, another very powerful week here in September. We've got a lunar eclipse taking place here, and this is in your 12th house of Pisces. So this is the house of your spiritual development. And you could even say connecting to your spiritual self. And one other way of looking at it is this is the last house of the Zodiac wheel, which is about coming back into wholeness, coming back into peace, into tranquility and acceptance in our lives, and completion of that spiritual, of just the life journey, right? When we come back and we accept, we let go, we're willing to be present and be. So these are the healthy manifestations of the 12th house, of course, but you guys have had your South Node transiting this 12th house over the past couple years, emphasizing that you have been, and maybe you've made a big shift with this year, but you have been releasing any old energies that have to do with the 12th house, any extremes that have to do with the 12th house, that might have to do with escapism or hiding away, or nebulousness, or illusions. You know, the overemphasis of a house is usually emphasized with the South Node is transiting. And during the lunar eclipse, we have this sort of awareness. We have this sort of status check where now you can examine this area of your life, you know, that everything that has to do with your spiritual development and connecting to your spiritual self and acceptance, so you can have peace and tranquility in your life. And doing a status check and seeing what's working in this area and what's not. What are some extremes that may have been being released this past 6 months, but also these past couple of years, having to do with this 12th house. And that's the key, really, is through this awareness, you can see and become more clear about how you can balance this area of life. And that's really the key with the South Node, is to have that awareness, to have that acceptance. And it's through that these older energies of the 12th will naturally be released, just like they have been. And then that will serve as a foundation for your life path, which consciously is gearing towards your self-expression at the moment. That's what that whole solar eclipse was. That's what this whole lunar cycle, this whole solar lunar cycle is about new beginnings with your self-expression, your creativity, your inner spark, and expressing that inner spark through whichever medium you choose. But in order to do that healthfully, we do have to come back into peace, come back into wholeness, and now with this full moon, we have the awareness to do so. And also a cultivation of a lot of things that we could be learning about ourselves in terms of how we can express ourselves in a way that is accepting, in a way that is present, and connecting to that inner essence of who we are, that beingness. So with this lunar eclipse, it is going to be collectively challenging, as this whole solar eclipse cycle has been. And this is going to be particularly in regards to the fact that it's conjoining up to Chiron, squaring up to Mars, and opposing up to Mercury retrograde. All right, so these aspects here with Chiron, is there some healing taking place? It may not be easy. You know, this is Chiron. This is about accepting any old wounds we might have, that then can help us reestablish our connection to our spiritual being, and even to life. You know, if we have any wounds, any insecurities about beingness, about being able to connect to life and go with the flow and accept things for how they are, they can come to the forefront at this time. And even to our relationship with God, and our relationship to, you know, depending on your philosophical preference with that, how things are unfolding. You know, the things we don't have control over, right? So there could be some doubts about, there could be some healing, and I think it's a great time to connect to that, to be aware of that, and to accept any wounds we might have regarding this spiritual dimension of life. Now, this square up to Mars is emphasizing that there has been a lot of motivation and drive for you to get to the truth of the matter. So it'll be important here to have the grounded approach. If you're feeling any bit of tension, to be aware of that. If you're feeling any bit of drive and wanting, you know, things done, and this is your ruler too, so if you're just generally feeling tension about who you are and where you're going, extra awareness, that's the key with the square. And to challenge yourself to take action, but in a way that is present, in a way that is accepting of life. And I think that's a great way of working with the square up to your ruler here. Now, the Mercury retrograde energy is actually going to start to go into effect earlier in the week. So this lunar eclipse is going to be around Friday. And as we approach that Friday, we do have Mercury retrograde going over the Sun, who is going to be forming that square up to Mars. So this has been that now it's this re-examination of the self-expression. And I think it's an excellent week, all week long, to learn more about it, to reconsider it, and ask yourself what it is that you enjoy. What is a self-expression? What is that inner spark? Remember, all this is very new with the North Node, but with that openness to learn and to try new things and to maybe change some things, reconsider some things regarding that inner spark, I think that's a great way of working with this. And again, bringing extra attention to your communications this first half of the week, which will be Mercury retrograde squaring up to your ruler. Bring extra attention to communications, bring extra attention to the routine, because things might be a bit on autopilot, as they are for all of us. And even bring extra attention to your self-expression, right? And that goes without saying, because again, here it's about learning about it. So with the awareness, we can learn quite a bit about, again, what you're expressing, what you enjoy, and what you're interested in there. What's close to the heart, basically. Now, it also is going to be opposing up to Jupiter, so keeping things nice and balanced, watching any extremes. With Jupiter in your 6th house, this is great. There should be plenty of opportunities right now to develop personally, or to get into your work, or to get your routine in order, or your health, your diet, your regimens. Okay, lots of opportunities here generally with Jupiter, and even Venus for that matter. So that's a great way of working with this, that, in order to have spiritual development, we do have to have a good routine, good order, good structure in our daily life. And they're really one and the same. So I think that's a good way of working with it. And in that way, I think you can be learning quite a bit about the discipline and structure that it takes to cultivate that spiritual development. All right, so that's going to be the most important aspect of the week, which will be here on Friday. Leading up to that, this Mercury retrograde. Mercury will be going over the Sun too, so about Monday, Tuesday time, reconsidering that self-expression in particular, keeping everything nice and balanced with those communications and the routine. Make sure there's extra attention there. And then the week ends with Mars trining up to Uranus, who will be sextiling Venus going into Monday. So Venus will be opposing up to Uranus too. So a lot of this freedom sort of energy over the weekend after the lunar eclipse. So this can be that, especially with your ruler trining Uranus, you could be feeling quite liberated, quite independent, being your true self, trying new things, mixing things up. And I think it's an excellent weekend to do just that. Within balance and within moderation, of course. Again, remembering that there are these daily responsibilities. There are these things that we are doing on this day-to-day level, which is the 6th house, but how we can bring in both the excitement into that and perhaps a bit of the routine, again, into the spiritual development, because the true liberation here is that of a spiritual type of liberation. This is Uranus in your 12th house, freeing you up spiritually, freeing you up so you can have more of that true self really come through your life. But it's suggesting that in order to do that, it is about connecting to that beingness, which I think this full moon, this lunar eclipse, will be helping you do. Okay? And I think you could notice a shift going into next week of a bit more of this now cultivation of this spiritual development of yours. All right, so Aries, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.